we, connection wise, I mean, I know your dad real well, and we work together running concerts all over the world. So that's him in Toronto, but I get to work with him when I'm in Toronto and all the rest of it. So really, really nice of you to do this. So thank you. I appreciate it. One of the questions I did actually want to ask you about was, growing up in that world, like, you obviously in media, and you've come through all the different channels that you've come through, but you were exposed to concerts probably from being a baby, right? So all the way through, what do you remember from that time, like growing up around your dad, around the biggest, shows in the world and all the rest of it? What was your first experience or memory of that?
I have so many vivid memories of that. And, I mean, obviously it definitely shaped a part of me to being like, ooh, I want to be on stage and I want to be able to perform to some degree. But for me, the very first memories I have are from when he was touring with Anne Murray. And we would, be backstage. My favorite thing was going to the rehearsals. I loved going to rehearsals. Just seeing everyone kind of paired back, working through the stuff. I loved watching Anne and her backup vocalists. I love watching them harmonize. There's something about that just I was always really drawn to. And then also just even seeing road cases everywhere. That's something that I just always remember. And then when I was on the road with WWE, obviously there's road cases everywhere. And that's just something that like I'm so used to just seeing as like a thread through my life, is just dollies of equipment, all the technical side of everything. I also used to really love rooting through Anne Murray's all of her like accessories, where she would have like a top hat that she would pop out and it would get really big, or she had like a little magician's wand or like a little kazoo. There are so many things that I just love to root around through, and just it really opened up my imagination as a kid for sure.
It's funny, my dad actually played with Anne Murray a bit too back in the day. I have my music background went back into that realm as well. So that's a funny connection.
Yeah.
People talk about the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but maybe it should be the 6 degrees of Anne Murray, right? When it comes to that, especially in Canada, because we're probably more like 4 degrees of everyone.
Of course. Yeah. Actually, my very first time ever doing anything on camera was doing the Anne Murray Christmas special. I did that when I was about 4 or 5, something like that. I got to do that twice. The first time it was, who were the guests on the time that I did it? I know the second time it was like Rock Voisine and the Bare Naked Ladies. But anyways, I loved doing that. And I just like that. Those moments were always so like cool to be like, ooh, let's get dressed up. And there's cameras. And as much as everybody was always so like bored and hated it, I always loved those moments.
Did that lay the foundation for you as to I think I want to do this then?
Yeah, I don't even think, so much that I even realized it at the time, but I think it definitely gave me an idea of like, oh, that's something that people can do. But also realizing that everyone in my family that worked in music, from my dad, my aunt, my uncle, they've all worked in the music industry for so long, but none of them were performers. So to get on like the other side of feeling like, wait, I have stars in my eyes to go do that other thing, sort of made me feel a little bit silly to say that to them, because they were on the production side of it. And I thought maybe they thought that I was like maybe a little ridiculous for wanting to do that. But I mean, they all really supported me so much.
Was there a moment, like, did you perform then, or was it, were you performing then? Were you taking the various things like trying to sing or try to dance or all these different kind of carve out your way, or were you in front of the mirror and pretending you were on the news? Like what kind of started that? I was
definitely never pretending I was on the news. That was never anything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But no offense to anybody in the news. But yeah, it was, I remember standing in front of, before the doors would open for a show, after they had finished the rehearsals and getting the shows all set up, and being able to stand there on the stage. Can't remember if it was Massey Hall or if it would have been the Sony Center, but yeah, being able to stand on that empty stage before anybody came in, and just feeling like what that was like to stand in a theater like that and see all the empty seats. And then also on the alternative side of that, of standing side stage during shows and being able to see this like full packed house, and watching this person who, like, I'll use Anne Murray as the example for that, but she was always, I mean, I knew her literally since I was born. She had sent stuff to like the hospital when I was born. We would go to her house when my dad was working and stuff. So to know her as Anne Murray, but then to see her on stage and turn into the Anne Murray was a different thing too. So I think just to be able to get both sides of that, to like see the real person and then seeing her kind of put on the show, that definitely opened my eyes to a lot of, just to what that could be like. But I didn't really start, I think it was more comedy that I was always drawn to, because I love to make people laugh. I loved saying things that I should not be saying and getting the reaction of like, oh, okay, I should not have said that. It was wrong. It was bad. Like, whether it was like cursing or making fun of something or whatever, but that always seemed to be a bit of a crutch of something that I would lean on was the comedy side of things. And that was also another thing for my dad too. He was big into watching SNL, Kids in the Hall, all that stuff. So I think that was really kind of more when I was like, oh, I like doing this. I like being like a bit of a ham. I like getting that reaction out of people.
So you were talking about being in the empty theater and stuff like that. So for me, I don't know what your dad's little things about the job that, drive him. For me, it's always been, I'm always out there when the house lights go out. So I've never missed a show, the beginning of any show I've ever done, because, when the house lights go out, everyone's getting exactly what they want at that moment. And including, Raw or SmackDown or anything like that, the excitement builds, and then the house lights go out, and everyone at that moment, they could be there for the first time ever at a live experience. They could be there, their 50th show in a row, whatever it is, but everyone's tied to that moment when the house lights go out. So I make sure that I'm out in front of every single show. And the side to that is I also make sure that 30 minutes before doors, when the arena is empty, I'm sitting in the middle of the arena on the floor, looking around and sort of saying like, all right, we're going to do this soon, but we got to this moment.
Yeah.
All of us together got to this moment just before doors, the calm before the storm. Did you pull any of that sort of like standing in the empty arena stage into your routine as you started, especially doing more live events and all the rest of it? Is there something that you definitely like, every single Raw I had to do this, every single SmackDown I had to do this, or every single, like, before I went live on air with anything, I do this? Is there something that you pulled from that time to kind of do
Not so much in the sense of like finding those moments of stillness. For me, it was more so about finding the moments to have more silliness, because that just made me more loose. I didn't do it so much in WWE. Like I would maybe just in my head think about it, but I would think about it especially when I first started, like when I was working at the Score in Toronto. I would love for like anyone that I was working with, if I was like co-hosting with someone, to like blast some Queen, have a time, dance around, get out some energy, and then go out and do the show. And just like as a friendly reminder to myself of like, listen, we're not out here curing cancer. We're doing a TV show and we get to have some fun. So let's just have some fun. Don't take everything so seriously. If you fuck something up, you fuck something up. Who cares? It was really about getting into that who cares space, because that for me is my sweet space, is when I don't give a shit.
Did you bring that with you? Did you notice a change in backstage, even with WWE or anything that you've been involved in? Have you always brought that into it?
I've always tried to, but I honestly sometimes found it a little bit difficult doing that in WWE, because I always felt like everything, as much as it's professional wrestling and you think that there would be more fun to like getting out that fun energy, it didn't really feel like that. Everything did feel a lot more serious and higher stakes, or I don't know if it's because more people are watching, or that wrestling fans are so intense about the product that you want to make sure that everything's just like dead on. But it depends. I've also worn so many different hats in WWE that I would kind of approach each of them differently. From when I was doing kickoff shows for pay-per-views, I could bring some more fun to that. Also, I find when I'm the one anchoring a show, I like to bring that energy to it, because I want everybody else around me to have that ease. I want everyone to just have fun. When people are having fun and enjoying what they do, it's a better product entirely all around. Everyone just walks away from it feeling 1,000 more times better. But when I was doing commentary, I was just so in my head and couldn't get loose to save my life some days. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I never really had like a ritual per se of like, I have to do this. This needs to happen, other than like, make sure you go pee before you start the show.
Thanks for stopping by, friends, to the Brenton On Tour podcast channel on YouTube. Coffee, music, travel, life, all of those things. One page, lots of guests, lots of chatter. We talk about all of it. If you like it, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Thanks, friends. See you next time.